And we're live. Hello.
We're online.
We're online. Hello, everyone. And, and forgive me, I might be coughing throughout this call since I have a bit of cough, recovering from a flu. Um, so today's episode will be Inesa kindly interviewing me around my festival experience. I thought it would be beautiful to encapsulate um, the experience that I have and hopefully give you some insight into what conscious festival means. And for me, it was the first festival ever that I've attended. It was interesting to see people's reactions also like, oh, your first festival? I'm like, yeah, what? And also saying, oh, it's the best festival to also, start with. And it was called Medicine Festival. And yeah, so I invited Inessa, who's my dear friend, to ask me some questions, to have a conversation around it, and yeah, see what comes out and extrapolate, yeah, whatever needs to come through. So, Mike, to you, my friend.
So thank you for having me. And this was the festival that I also wanted to join and wanted to be a part of. And fortunately, unfortunately, I've chose not to be a part of. So I'm gonna have an honor to get to know more about it from you. Um, yeah, maybe you can share a little bit first about the festival in general, because this is not really like what we or what majority of people think of when they think festival, right? Because majority or like even me, what I imagined festival to be some years ago, I imagined it like a place where we gather a lot of people, which is still true, right? But where a lot of people gather and drink alcohol, do some drugs, and there are different artists that are coming from different parts of the world and they are performing, playing their songs, their music, and we are all kind of getting high and partying and dancing and what's not, right? So like this is what I believe majority of people still think of when they think festival, right? And me myself in that kind of festival where drugs and alcohol is allowed. I've been once, and that was in Lithuania, and I did do drugs back then, which was like 10 years ago or so. So it was very much not in my body and not a conscious and not really connecting to others' experience. It was pretty much like running away from something and yeah, I have so much fun. But at the end of the day, 1 week later, you're like deep in, pain and suffering. So just if you could give a little bit of a background, like what is such a conscious festival about and what happens there?
Yeah. Yeah, my also kind of experience was in day festivals and drugs and loud music and um, coming to medicine. It was it was such a contrast of okay, I'm feeling like I'm wanting to go in so many directions. Let me ground myself. Hmm. So I guess I'm just sharing from my own experience. So the festival, it's like it was 4-day festival, and it was not only music and musicians, but it was also like different workshops and different talks. You had different like people selling different things from different communities. Um, so it was like the experience was one of like for me like entering through the portal into this magical village of like walking into a fairy tale. Like I'm walking in and there's so many tents, like so many like small tents where people live in, or trucks, and people like really settled in. Like you could see who was prepared. People like created even their own small communities within the festival. And then you walk in and you have so many like food stands and like chill out areas and like big tents where the workshops are. You have like a big um, schedule of the things that are happening. So there's no alcohol, which was very beautiful. And I think that's what made it like feel very safe for me. And I think also there were families, people with children, and it was just so magical to have like all these little kids running around, also engaging in different like I don't think there oh I don't think there were kids in the workshops, but there were like specific family areas for parents and their kids and their workshops. So they were a bit separate, but like when you mingle in a festival, like there's all sorts of youthful energy of kids running around, and for me it was just like such a different experience. I see these kids running around and I was saying to someone, me at their age was under the table while parents were drinking and partying, um, like playing, I'm under the table playing while chaos in the house and drinks. And so I was like, wow, that's such a like different and beautiful experience. So I think the conscious part is the fact that there's no alcohol, and obviously people that gather there, um, I've not seen anyone like doing any hard drugs or anything. Um, so it felt very safe, I came down, I built my tent. I didn't feel like I need to protect something or like be cautious of like someone taking something. It was just like I just dropped things off, I left. And it's like wherever you go, you can like literally drop your stuff off and no one would even touch it, it's that kind of feeling of safety. And I think that made a really big difference, of how I was able to relax and like really enjoy myself. Um, so yeah, I guess like the big picture overview, no alcohol, families with kids, different beautiful workshops, loads of different subjects as well. Mm, like a lot of like handmade stuff that people are selling. So it's really like a village community vibe, where you can just simply like relax. And I wasn't really using my phone. I intentionally chose actually not to even take pictures. And in a lot of the spaces, we were actually invited not to take pictures, to kind of not, dilute the energy of the space. And that also felt very freeing, just putting my phone away and just wandering around, who am I going to meet, what workshop am I going to do, just like really surrendering to the magic of spontaneity. And I went on my own, although I met someone on the way who was from one of my communities. So we traveled together, we built the tents together, and we pretty much not seen each other after, because there was like 7,000 people, I think, in the festival. It was like, um, yeah, so I was on my own, which actually had its beauty. And I don't know, it was just different, I guess. I guess it would be different to go with a tribe, with the community, and like hanging out together. But for me, like the beauty was like I was on my own, so I was not tethered to anyone or anything. So I could just literally go where I want to go, when I want to go, and just yeah, being lost in the in the wonder, in awe of like, oh, where do I want to go? What do I want to eat? Which workshop do I want to go? And then meeting beautiful people throughout. And yeah, it's just like, yeah, very, very special.
Mm. Mm. So I heard a lot of different points of importance that like you felt very safe. So the fact that you could like leave your things in the tent or just drop anywhere, um, like it has this feeling of being with your friends and being with your family, even though it's like 7,000 people, you
Mm,
still feel like everyone is in the same vibe. And if you would not touch someone else's things, then no one else will touch yours, because we all have same values here. We all come with same virtues, right? So this is what I'm hearing, and I'm receiving this sort of like deepening into the experience, because you don't mind, like, oh, did I left something there, or do I have to look out for something? And also the fact that no one was drinking. You also mentioned that that also added up to helping you feel safe. Would you like to elaborate on that? Like, why would it take away from feeling of safety if, it would be like half half, some people drinking and some not, if alcohol would actually be invited in the space?
mm. Hmm. So I guess my first like silly thing that comes to my mind, someone being drunk and like falling onto my tent, ruining my tent, and like, or like causing problems, arguments and like being aggressive. So those kinds of things that happen, when we drink alcohol and we lose ourselves. And so knowing that everyone is at a conscious level of comprehension, there's no like misunderstandings or confusions. um, that definitely creates a big level of safety. um, and then also, like something about also, waking up in the morning and feeling fresh. It's like, oh, fresh, another day and another exploration. And yeah, everyone's kind of fresh and alive and enlivened, as opposed to, hangover and like rough and this atmosphere, um so it's really interesting how just such a simple thing can like create a level of safety. Because as I was being in the festival, I went through a lot of reflection of like, how would it be on the other side if now I would go to a conventional festival, where drugs and alcohol, and how would that feel? And like for me, it's like the sense of like contraction of like, ugh, like I wouldn't feel so free and expansive, because then I would think, of all these possibilities that could go wrong if someone drinks, or someone like steals, or someone, bumps into the tent, and like, oh, just this like carnage that alcohol and drugs, create, when people go unconscious. So yeah, that was, yeah, I think very
Mm.
important for me. And now actually I'm thinking, could I actually go to a more conventional festival? Like, I probably could, but like, yeah, it's like, I don't know if I would be able to enjoy myself as much and like to feel so safe. Um, yeah.
Mm. Yeah. And I really feel like adding this, and I will try my best to stay in like a non-judgmental voice, tone of speaking, in that. But like, having alcohol here and there, it's one thing, right? Whereas like drinking a lot is another thing. And drinking a lot is usually a coping mechanism, right? We are looking for something, we're trying to escape from something. And usually it helps us in some way, right? Or we think it does until we find better tools. So what I find in a lot of conventional festivals, this sort of like drinking and getting drunk and, just like, yeah, let's share it up. Let's celebrate life with like a glass and a second and a third and a fourth. It's sort of like repeating the same cycle, like a generational cycle of like, looking for something outside of yourself, like looking for joy outside of yourself, looking for even, processing your emotions, right? Because like we've seen that, we know it ourselves, we've been drinking, right? Sometimes you're drinking a lot and then you suddenly feel the sadness and you cry and whatnot, but you didn't really process your emotions because that sadness sustains with you afterwards, right? But you feel like you do, and you get access to these different emotions. So in conventional festivals, a lot of what can happen is accessing the emotions of rage and anger and, different emotions that actually is going to put other people
Mm,
in can put other people in danger, right? When a lot of that is happening. So I feel like maybe that also can add like into safety when you are aware that, things like that will not happen. And that brings me into a place of like, and yet in a festival like that, a lot of real emotions are being brought up to the surface, isn't it? Like
mm,
it is a space to really feel and experience whatever you have inside of you. And that's not always beautiful. That's not only feeling the joy of life and celebrating, but it's also a lot of like processing something that is deeply stored within you that needs space to be released.
yeah.
Um, so have you seen a lot of that, and have you experienced a lot of that within yourself, like different emotions, both celebration of life and joy, but also other ones, like maybe accessing, I don't know, maybe you access loneliness in terms of like being alone and not having your own small community. And yet, can you manage to like transform that loneliness and alchemize it into like, wow, we're all one
Mm,
together? Like
yeah.
if we can like um explore that. I don't know whether it's like too broad and we need to ground it.
No, 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 no. I have quite a few points that are coming up as you're sharing that, um, which I actually didn't think about, but it's beautiful that you're bringing up the fact that how, with alcohol and drugs, how it gives us access to express the unexpressed that we wouldn't have like possibility in like day to day or access or even awareness. It just like comes taking over us. Um, and in the festival that I've been and in more conscious festivals, there's like different workshops and things like that, where you can explore that consciously. So for example, I mean, I've not gone to like more of the somatic ones because I didn't feel like I had the need, but I was walking past some breath work, journey, and I was like seeing and like hearing people like going through some deep, you know, releases, and it was so beautiful, and I guess that's one of the alternative ways of like, where people can explore um, those different unaccessed emotions or ex- that full experience of something. And I think I met someone as well who told me like, oh, I didn't realize I can have so much fun being sober. And he's like, I actually, you know what? I've had even more fun sober than I would have with alcohol. And I was like, wow, and that's one of the other experiences that these festivals provide is like an experience of what it feels like to be in life sober, because oftentimes like we've not experienced that and we simply don't know how it could be. Like me, I could never ever dance without alcohol. So it didn't even occur to me as a possibility until later in life I tried ecstatic dance, and it was a deep process. But in that moment I was like, wow, I can dance sober and have fun, um and like and it's okay, I feel safe after a while, because it's this initial, oh, just feeling a bit awkward, and then you kind of get into the groove and you see everyone's just like dancing away, no one fucking cares, how how you dance, or is it slow, is it fast, is it wild, is it you know it doesn't matter, you're just like experiencing it. And I think that's the beauty of like once we have a space where we can experience a different way of being in life, then it's like, oh wow, I have options now, then I can choose. Whereas before there was only one option, a default. um so I think that's what's also beautiful, having those experiences where we can allow ourselves to explore different ways of being, and also, yeah, express the unexpressed. And for me, it's like, yes, it was a roller coaster, the whole experience, the whole 4 days, of because it was my first festival. It was a bit overwhelming, actually. There's so much going on, sleeping in a tent after I don't remember last time I slept in a tent, and so much action, like wrapping my head around this whole schedule, and then feeling very connected, and then feeling lonely. And it was beautiful to be with all of that, and to transform, and to observe myself. How am I navigating um this festival, what's coming up. But obviously that's me being like deeply introspective, and like, I guess, like, indulging in the fact that I'm going through things, and I'm observing, and I'm like alchemizing them as I go. For some people it might be just an experience, but I guess going to different workshops, I was just like dancing was like one of my main things. I was just dancing wild and free, and for me, I guess dancing is a big one. So I spent a lot of time dancing, and like exploring even deeper, like what it means to dance, and what, like, the journey that it takes me on. Um, but yeah, it's a beautiful, healthy outlet of experiencing different ways of being, and experiencing being sober, and like finding different workshops, and things to explore where you can express the unexpressed.
Mm, mm, mm. Yeah, beautiful. A few things are coming up, and I'm seeing how can I ground it into one. So maybe you could express. I'm feeling like we kind of started. We didn't really give like a taste. I would like to talk into like what is conscious festival. If someone is listening and like don't even have an idea or never like researched even about such festivals, right? Like, what is it even? And maybe what I'm imagining, could you like bring in like some artists, and their purpose in life, and some people who are guiding workshops and their purpose in life, and how it's all really merging in one purpose. And then everyone who joins are actually trusting in that too, right? And living in that way. Because it's a very, for me, how I see it at least, right? It's it's two different experiences, the conventional festival and like a medicine festival, for example. It's like totally different, and it's very different in its purpose too. Um, right, in the essence of the
Mm,
festival actually. Um, so if you could share a little bit about it, of course, from
yeah,
what you know, and
yeah,
what you've experienced.
yeah. I just want to say that conscious was my addition to, or distinction of the festival. I don't think they maybe promote themselves as a conscious festival. It's more just like, festival. I don't know, like, what's their actual definition of it. And conventional is also, my creation, but it's just an easy way for me to kind of distinguish. But yeah, it's interesting, um I cannot speak like for all conventional festivals and their intention, um but I would assert there's hopefully some level of, bringing community together through music and shared experience. And there's probably also, the money making and all of that. This specific festival, I think, someone asked me like, why is it called medicine? And I actually didn't look into why exactly, but I kind of have my own assertion. And it's because, you know, they're bringing, I should have probably looked up at their history and how it started, but they're bringing a lot of different tribes into the festival to share their, their wisdom, their ancient practices and rituals and all of that. So there's something about, you know, inviting people to bring their and share their medicine. And then what is medicine, medicine can actually be medicine, plant medicine and things like that. Or it can be a medicine of your soul, a song or, a craft that you do, um, a music that you play, a poetry that you recite. So I think my assumption is for that festival, the name medicine is that everyone brings their medicine. It's a community where everyone brings their medicine, and then the rest can kind of share and indulge in it. And it's I forgot what's the name. It's CIC in the UK. It means um something non-profit, or with like where the profit has to go back into the community. So it's very like the basis of the festival is also like um, very much community oriented, and a lot of it they donate into different like charities and good causes, and I think back into those tribes and things like that. So there's, as you say, there's different base, for, or different intention for those festivals. It's, yes, gathering people together, allowing like for artists to bring their medicine, to different tribes to bring their medicine, their wisdom, like it's this collective sharing, and reinvesting the profits back into serving the wider different communities. So I think for me the conscious part is, why are we doing this? um, because I would assert that the birth of this project was not, to make money solely. Although like there's so much work that goes into this festival, because it's not just like you put up, things. It's like a lot of things were like handmade. Pretty much everything over there was handmade, and you can see like all the tiny details, people like working, and like creating these beautiful mandalas and different altars from like stones and pieces of plants, and like they're everywhere, and it's like very like infused with love and attention and just so much detail. um so yeah, I think the conscious part is like, why are we here, what are we creating here, what's our collective shared intention, and yeah, allowing different people to express their gifts and their medicine with others.
Mm. Yeah, and that brings me to a question. What is medicine then? What is medicine? Because a lot of our understanding of medicine, or a lot of people's understanding of medicine, can be like a medicine, a pharmacy.
Yeah, yeah,
Right? So what is medicine? It's like, okay, so I'm a medicine person and I come to share my workshop there, right? But what does that mean? Like, how do you explain it to my mom, for example?
yeah. Someone was giving us a lift from the train station to the festival, and he's like, medicine, but it's like pharmacy medicine. I'm like, no, no, no. But literally just what I was speaking, medicine being, and again, maybe they have a different interpretation of that. That's my interpretation, is like, bringing whatever your soul's art is, whether that's music, whether that's like crafts, um, whether that's, a workshop, or like teaching different things, whatever, you are, whatever your gift is, whatever you're embodied at in, to bring that to the community and to share that, to be, for that to be the medicine for others. If I went to a workshop and someone was talking about shadow work, and how do we alchemize, our shadows into our allies. For some, hearing it for the first time, it's like it's medicine for their soul because they've never heard this concept. They got a deeper access to, their triggers, and like have a different understanding of what that is. So that person already left, touched, moved, and inspired and liberated in more ways. So yeah, I think the medicine is what, our soul's call is. What are we here on this planet Earth to create, to contribute to the wider society?
Hmm. Hmm. So medicine is essentially what heals, right?
Mm,
Medicine is to heal. Medicine is to transform. Medicine is
mm,
to help someone move from one state to the other. And if we like look at like why would we call pharmacy a medicine? Well, we would only call it a medicine because it helps us heal something, right? Go from one state to the other state, right? Whereas like a lot of a lot of what pharmacy does actually is also kill some other things along the way, and still it's still a helpful tool in many ways, but it's not always taking the whole picture, right? Like some medications that we take, a pharmacy that we take. I just want to like really speak into the medicine concept, right? Like why is it so medicinal, this festival, and why is it medicine, right? And like it kind of like heals like a symptom, right? But then kills other cells or like disrupts something else, like doesn't look at the thing as a whole. So
mm,
that's why it's really a drug. It's not really a medicine. Whereas medicine is like in taking in the whole into the picture, right? So that's what people are sharing their medicines there for workshop. And that's why someone coming to that workshop and doing shadow work receives medicine to their soul because they actually like receive something that helps them connect some puzzle together, understand themselves better, let something go, right? Transform, release some maybe past memory, or open up to more love. Perhaps they were very closed before and not allowing others to enter them, or maybe haven't seen, oh, why am I lying all the time, why am I not able to be honest, and then I'm coming to this workshop and I'm realizing that maybe I've learned to do that, maybe I've been put to do that as a child, and that's very medicinal. And that's medicine because it doesn't only heal the symptom and helps you understand that, like, hey, that's why you have this pattern, but it also takes the whole picture, right? It's really like about holistic approach. That's why it's medicine. Everything else suddenly heals. Your relationships are going to become better. You're going to feel more self-love. You're going to feel more confident and whatnot. So it's really like medicine in terms of healing. And what is healing? Healing is really looking at something as a whole picture, not only part of you, right? Where drugs and alcohol often fails. It may help you to forget your depressive thought, but the root cause of your depressive thought is still there. So you can never access the root cause of why you're feeling depressed. But you're suddenly not feeling as depressed, maybe under the influence of alcohol, but it doesn't really heal the symptom, right? Like the root cause, it only heals the symptom, and still not really because it may activate more sadness in you under the influence of alcohol, right? The same some drugs, right? I will take a painkiller from a headache, let's say, and I will keep taking it every single day because I have migraine. Okay, but there is a root cause to your migraines, right? So this pharmacy, yeah, great. If you have a lot of pain and it's really intense and you really have to do something, then it may help. right? And good for us, we have the science that can like target specific areas, can be helpful, but usually it overlooks the whole picture, right? And when we look at the whole picture, then already then we are stepping into our medicine. We are saying to ourselves, hey, there is the whole picture of why I'm experiencing migraines, right? Perhaps there is something suppressed I'm not looking into. Perhaps there is some, lifestyle that I need to look into. So just like the medicine in itself that you receive in a festival, I believe, is very much like a holistic way of like healing and transforming. And it's not only like celebrating life and bringing community together, but it's really like what it's gonna do to you as a person. And then when you go out into the world, the ripple effects that you are creating, right? I loved what you said before. You're experiencing a different way of partying and enjoying life, right? And then suddenly you have a choice. So suddenly when you go back, because you have that choice, someone else can also see that in you and be like, oh shit, I'm also having a choice. So like that, you are creating ripples. So you're not really taking this experience only for yourself. You're actually taking this experience and giving it to all other people. So that's what, I think medicine is actually. It's really like this whole picture, and it's lovely, like this whole purpose, right? Like they are, like you say, they bringing different tribes. I saw some pictures, some videos, like different tribes and like from jungle and from, like Yavanava, I believe, was there, like different tribes, right? They're inviting and really like sharing their medicine. Well, what is the medicine? Well, these people, they don't really use pharma and they don't really use, vodka to deal with their emotions. They're actually using something else. And they're
Mm,
coming to a festival to show their ways of being whole, of feeling complete, of
mm,
being in community, of loving everyone just as we are meant to do, but we just don't know how to because we're so traumatized and we are afraid to love, right? So they're bringing them to really like give a piece of, um, give us a taste because in Western society we just got so um, far out from actual medicine, but we are slowly coming back through such festivals and different things that we are doing. We're slowly coming back to like remembering of our medicinal power. And
mm,
I believe these people who come to share there, right, the artists and the people who are holding workshops, they have access the medicine within themselves. And it can be different thing for different people, right? It can be like dance, like for you, that's why you dance a lot because this is your medicine, right? You have access it. And maybe for you dancing, it's bigger medicine than, for someone drawing, right? But you have access to it, and someone else will access drawing, and then they suddenly want to lead drawing workshops because that helps people heal and find wholeness and let go of some repressed pain, right? And for you, it's dancing. So when you really access it and anchored in it, you come there and you teach it,
mm,
and then you inspire that medicine onto others. Um,
mm.
yeah.
Wow. Wow, that was such a beautiful encapsulation of everything. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I really loved what you said about tribes and, you know, them them coming along and just showing like their ways of living and being and how it's different and how, yeah, I guess it's like it's a lot of seeing different ways of being in the world and tapping into these different ways and discovering access for yourself of like, oh, I can be without alcohol, oh, I can dance sober, oh, I can actually speak in public about my fears, and my triggers. Um, so all these different like entry points into like more expansive self. Um, that in turn, that expansiveness then magnetizes more connection because we're more open, we're more vulnerable, we're um, more genuine. There's layers of ourselves that we thought that we are kind of begin to dissipate, and we access different ways, and then we obviously connect deeper with others. And as you say, it's like all comes back to love, and to feeling connected, feeling the sense of community, and feeling that love and safety within ourselves and also within the community. And then, yeah, accessing that medicine within us, okay, so how do I want to express, and like what is it that I want to bring to the world? Like, I've met a lot of people as well that they were saying, oh, like I feel just so much more connected now to my purpose and to what I want to do in life, and how I want to show up. And literally this is what it does, when you're in that space, you're just like, you feel so nourished, that then you just want to, go and give back.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, and that also like somehow speaks to me into like this no competition energetics, right? It's like really you seeing someone else lead workshops and whatnot. It's not really putting you in this position of like, oh, they are like so much better than me. It's more like activating a part of you that's also has something, and you're like, there is no competition. Like we need thousands, we need all 7,000 participants to do the same what these people are doing, right? Just in their own way. Actually, we need all 7,000 people, and it's no competition because everyone will resonate with everyone in a different way, right? And then suddenly we will come back to this web of life that we essentially are coming from, right? Where everyone positively impacts everyone, right? By stepping into it. So, like, somehow this, what you shared really speaks into that. Like, it reminds you of that you also have a purpose, and you also have a medicine, and you also have something to share here in the world. And being in such space, it's like, doesn't put you in a state of like, oh, I'm less than, but rather encourages you to like, wow, like I also wanna do that in the
Mm,
world. Yeah.
yeah.
Hmm. What was did it inspire you personally to step more fully into your purpose?
Mm. Yeah, I was actually like being in those workshops and I was like, fuck, I could do that, you know? So it definitely like opened me up to like stepping more into my also, facilitation, and yeah, just seeing, where I'm still not stepping into my purpose fully, where I could step in more. So definitely like a lot of inspiration for, what I could do. And one of the workshops we left with, I've met this guy in a workshop. We left and we started talking, and both of us were like, "Yeah, next time we're on that stage." Yeah, yeah. So yeah, as you say, like there's no feeling of like, "Oh, look at them, they're over there." It's more of like, "Wow, I see you, and I want to do the same." I feel inspired to do the same.
Mm.
And yeah, it's very like it's interesting you mentioned that energetics, because it's not even like you don't feel that over there. It's like everything is so like intimate and small, like within those, workshops, and you can, come up and speak with the facilitator, and so there's not really like this hierarchy. It's more of like, I'm doing this, and I'm on the same journey with you as well.
Mm. Yeah, wow, I love it. I'm doing this and I want the same journey with you as well.
Mm. Because then you
Yeah,
meet the facilitators also, at the festival and hanging out and all of that. So
yeah.
yeah.
Were there some workshop leaders or artists that you've already been like looking up to and listening to and learning from, and then suddenly you meet them there?
Um, Yes, and not extensively. I guess I was just like looking at the program and seeing like, oh, I know this name, so maybe I want to go and see them. So there were a couple of those, and then also going into workshops where I don't know people, and also being like, oh wow, this is great. And also like what also was very fascinating, how there was like, you could go like into the most mystical, spiritual, ritualistic workshop, which I've not been somehow. I don't know why. It just didn't. It didn't. I didn't end up there. But just like to contrast, and then you can go like to a workshop of neuroscience of learning, and you have a
Mm,
professor standing there talking about neuroscience of learning, and to me, it's like, wow, it's such a like paradox of like these contrasting yet complementing experiences, how you can go through like a deep spiritual journey and then go and feed your mind with up to date neuroscience, which for me I realized actually I was really craving for like mental stimulation. I was like, wow, that's very interesting. I thought I was going to be more of like, into spiritual stuff, maybe more ritualistic. But no, I think for me it was like, because I've danced so much, like I had a lot of like somatic experiencing. My mind was just like, oh, I want something, mind bending a little bit. So that was an interesting one to observe within myself, how I guess I'm more intellectual. What I'm realizing, I'm more intellectual than I thought, or like, yeah, or that
mm,
I can hold both, but like my preference for intellectual is big.
mm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that again brings me into like, there's no competition in terms of what is your medicine, right? And it's like no one way. Like you can be like fully in your purpose and help people heal, and by like being like totally like science based and, teaching people neuroscience, and, you're like super ritualistic and reading tarot cards. There is like no really like what is needed for whom. It's like you
Mm,
cannot really say. So it's like it's just a reminder to myself too, right? Like in the work that I do, it's like I don't need to master all the aspects, right? Because there will be like some aspect that I'm like, hey, oh yeah, okay, like for a client I can be like, this is exactly what you need right now, and I cannot give that to you. I can still provide the same container and we meet again next week and we still do amazing work, but it would really benefit for you to do this, for example, and I cannot help you with that, so you can get it here. So it's really about like, there is no like one way, like just fucking go into the direction that you're really pulled towards,
mm.
and master that. Beautiful. What kind of workshops did you join then?
Um, so I went to the shadow one because the guy who was leading, I've seen him live before. His name is Jamie Cato, and he's just hilarious. He makes like deep work into such a like entertainment that we all had a blast, and it was actually very playful and fun. And then I ended up on the stage reading out loud all of my inner like criticisms, and it was like an exercise. We had to write down um like inner critic, what does my inner critic says, no one knew that we're gonna have to like speak it out loud, so I was just very free in my journal, boom boom, calling myself all sorts of things. And the exercise was, there's different in-person like different ways to like different voices that you need to speak them out loud in. And I think one was like a stripper. The other one was, what was it? A porn star in the middle of something. Spoiled, whining child. Irritable French waiter. Um, drink or drunk or stoned person. And fascist dictator or mother. So there's, and we had to like, within our small little groups, we had to like randomly come up with which one, almost like roll the dice, and you get like which, you know, accent you're gonna use for your inner critic. And it was fucking deep. It was hilarious, but it was also deep, to speak out loud all your inner criticisms about yourself to the group. Um, so like I didn't my intention going there was to have fun and to be playful and free. I didn't know that this was going to go so deep, but anyway, so we did our exercise within our small groups, and then he says, "Okay, now one of you who wants to come and like say it on the stage," and I was like, "Ah, fuck it." So I went there, and it was already very like confronting to do it within a small group of 3 or 4. And then I went on the stage and I did it in front of everyone, and I was like, wow. And but the beauty of it was like how everyone was like relating and clapping, and you could feel that everyone is relating because everyone has those same, criticisms about themselves. So it was very beautiful, but very deep also experience. So that was my first evening workshop. And then I met so many people, like randomly approached me. He's like, "Oh, you're the girl that was on the stage. Thank you. That was like so beautiful. Like I really needed that as well." And like talking about medicine, and being medicine for others. So that was very rewarding also, connecting and meeting people and sharing that. Um, I went to Kundalini workshop with Jai Dev, which I've kind of briefly knew from social media, but meeting him in person was like, wow. Something about his being was just like this calm, pure presence. And actually, it was beautiful for me because it was re-entering into Kundalini in a very gentle way. Because I remember first time I tried Kundalini, it was just so fucking intense, and it really put me off. So it was very beautiful. Um, then I went to a couple of workshops actually that were a bit too crowded, and I was like, you know what? I know this thing. I'm just gonna remove myself. So that was also good, honoring my need for a spacious environment for the workshop. That's one of the little pieces of feedback that I've also left, for one specific, tent, that it was like very closed off and overcrowded. I went to the consent workshop, learning yes, no's, boundaries, which I've done that kind of work. So it was a bit kind of a bit of the same, but it was good still to remember. I went to Adam Roa workshop, which was around being a creative entrepreneur. And for me, that was like, wow, so beautiful. He talked about masculine, feminine dynamics within the creation and how we need limitations, how an artist needs limitations in order to create. And for me, that was one of the keys that was like, wow, okay. Because I always thought, that I need freedom. But he was saying, like, you actually need limitations, and speaking into feminine, masculine, and feminine wanting more, and masculine creating that container to sustain. Anyway, it was really powerful. And he was also reciting his poetry, which was like, wow. It was just, and talking about his journey as a creative entrepreneur, very powerful. So I really enjoyed that. Um, what else did I go to? I went to Neuroscience of Learning, which I've mentioned. That was also very insightful. Um, and I think I'm trying to remember if there was more. Probably I'm forgetting something, but there was so many workshops. You could just like literally knock yourself out all day. But also it was my first time, I was kind of taking it easy, not getting, too stressed about it. I went to a couple of yoga nidras, which I really needed. It was not a workshop, it was more like, just half an hour of relaxation.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, I think that was pretty much it. Then it's like this wandering around, meeting people, having lunch, going for a swim in the river, dancing. Dancing was like my personal workshop that I was going to every day. And bonus was that the nudity was welcome at the festival as well. So that
Mhm.
for me was like, bring it on, baby. I was like, Mother Nature, hold me. It was actually very beautiful. I met someone at the workshop, at the consent workshop. And after the workshop, we left and we started talking. And that was like also the beauty of being on my own and the beauty of the festival as well. You bump into so many interesting people. And then we started talking, and I was like, "Do you mind if I just undress? It's so hot." He's like, "Be my guest." And I just undressed, and it was so beautiful to share a connection with someone who is not like awkward about it or anything. And we were talking, we're just like laying on the grass, and the sun is shining, and we're just exchanging connection, having some food, and it's just like, I was like, this is paradise. Imagine a society where we're just free to be the way we are in our bodies. So yeah, that was a beautiful moment.
Mm. You didn't went to like dance workshops where there are also like a movement workshops, like you said yoga, but like where there movement workshops, like for those,
Yeah,
let's say, who feel maybe more restricted in dancing or cannot really access their body like so
there
much.
were, but I didn't go. um Sometimes, it's the timing. Like there was one workshop that my friend was actually hosting and I wanted to go, but it was early in the morning, and then I met someone and we had a really nice chat over a coffee, and
Mm.
yeah. So
Mm.
it's interesting. It's like also, making a plan for the day, but also kind of holding it loosely because you may bump into someone and share a beautiful connection. And yeah.
Mhm. Mm. With abundance of workshops and artists and music, right?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
imagine it's also like it's okay if you miss one, right? Like, and also learning to like be not attached. Oh my God, I really wanted to be there, and well, I had like a good moment here instead, and
Yeah.
it's okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
My favorite, I guess we can like begin to wrap this up, and I'll share one of my favorite last memories was listening to this musician called Yaima, and
Mm.
she was performing live. And I bought this dress at the festival that's like really made me feel like a goddess. Like, oh, I just felt so good in that dress. I got my face painted, and it was the last day. I was like, this is the final. It was a full moon. I'm ovulating, I'm radiating, I'm in that dress. I just feel magnetic, and everyone's just like complimenting me and people giving me gifts. I met this person, he gave me this crystal that looks black, but when you put it next to like the sun or the light, it's like it's transparent. And I was like, why do you want to gift it to me? He's like, I don't know, it just told me to gift it to you. I'm like, wow. And then I'm dancing, and then this woman walks next to me and she's like with her Polaroid, she's like, oh my God, can I take a picture of you and gift it to you? I was like, wow, yes, thank you. And so she took a picture of me. Look,
Wow.
it's such a precious memory, but like for someone, to like such a beautiful act of kindness, so it's so
Mm.
selfless. And so I was by that stage and she was just like an angelic voice musician, like the words that she's singing also so profoundly deep. And I'm just dancing and I'm looking around and everyone's like in pure like devotion, like enjoying that's the purity of the transmission of the music. and everyone's like in love and ecstasy, being sober, you know, just like, wow. I was like, this is fucking heaven, you know. And then as my mind does, you know, goes into a contrasting experience, and I'm thinking, in a conventional festival, everyone would be like drunk and on drugs, and it's like, yo, bitch, suck my dick, you know, blah, 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 just like heavy, dark music playing. And I'm like, wow, you know, it's like, it's such a fucking contrast. And like, again, you know, going back to the intention and what does it feed us? And to me, in that moment, I was like, wow, this scene right here is like so healing and so transforming, like bringing people close to their souls, to their hearts, to love. You know, there's children around. And I was just like, wow, this is the world that I want to live in, you know,
Hmm.
bliss.
Wow. Thank you for the summary. Yeah. Thank you. I love it. And yeah, I want to add as well that, whatever we listen to, like all the music that we listen to, it will affect us, right? It will always affect us, and all of it in some way programs us or like
Mm,
sets us free. But even like setting us free, it's still like a program. It's like changing our program, right? So it's like a lot of a lot of music. Like, I just want to encourage the ones that listening, really be aware of what you're listening to, because whatever music you listen to affects you more than you think it does. And all of these words, you just mentioned a few, suck my dick, but these are like quite like big words, but there is also, they may not sound that big, but it's like in the language, like they really program you what to believe about relationships, what to believe about yourself, what to believe about your own healing, what to believe about breakups, what to believe about creation, what to believe about business, what to believe about government and whatnot. It's like a lot of this popular music like is really programming our minds into like what to believe in, and oftentimes it's not rooted in freedom, whereas like music that you've heard in festival and the music that we listen to, right? I personally don't listen to any pop music, so the music that I listen to, it still like in some way programs you, but it programs you into beautiful things,
mm,
right? It really helps you to remember what you're here for, to remember that we're all one, to, raise up your frequency, to feel your emotion, to remember there is no one way to walk your path. There is no one way to go for a breakthrough, to a breakup, right? There is no one way to love a man or be in a relationship. Like that music, the one where you want to be and the world you want to live in, this is what the artists are trying to bring forward, right? They're trying to bring forward the power of healing, the power of being in your own power, in your sovereignty.
mm,
Right? Whereas a lot of conventional is actually not really helping us to be free and choose for ourselves and be sovereign beings. It actually puts a little bit of a program, and it's just like a unhealed intentions. These people are just as pure within as we all are, but the intentions are showing that there is a lot of healing that needs to be done and a lot of impurity. Whereas like in such a festival where you've been, it's like artists are really making sure to do their work day in and day out, and that's why they remind you that they're on the same journey. Or I hope at least everyone there, I believe, I trust, are, doing their work and doing their part and really cleaning up and, working on having purest intentions, and the transmissions, the words that they share there and the music that they play are actually attuned with like high frequency, are attuned with like reminders that really speak to us, don't program us, but speak to us, the medicine that we need to hear.
mm,
So like I also wanted to somehow summarize that into like invitation,
mm,
really, really clean up, your playlist because a lot of music is actually like a dopamine kick, and then you drop and high and down and high and down, and so we are depressed. Sometimes just cleaning up your music and choosing different music already will put you in like a more balanced, harmonious state, and suddenly you're thinking differently, you're feeling differently, you are speaking differently, right? Just cleaning up that already can be like the medicine,
Mm.
for the next week.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, beautiful that these, bigger events are happening where many people come together, really get into building this like new earth.
Mm. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Beautiful. Very grateful to have participated. And now I'm like, what's next? What's next?
Next year coming to Denmark, and we are gonna have a little retreat for us over here with ecstatic dance and.
Mm. Thank you
Mm.
for allowing me this space to, to share and to reflect and to get this cemented in as a memory. I appreciate you as always.
Mm. Thank you for choosing me to be a part of this.